China has built the largest military on Earth. The People's Liberation Army numbers over 2 million active personnel, backed by the world's biggest navy by hull count, a growing nuclear arsenal, and a defense industry that has gone from copying Soviet designs to producing world-class weapons largely on its own. This is everything China has to fight with. Main battle tanks. Type 99A. The Type 99A is China's most advanced main battle tank, and the spearhead of the PLA Ground Forces armored divisions. It weighs around 58 tons, mounts a 125mm smoothbore gun capable of firing gun-launched anti-tank missiles, and features composite armor reinforced with explosive reactive armor panels. The Type 99A includes an active protection system, laser dazzler, and advanced fire control with hunter-killer capability. It's broadly comparable to Western third-generation tanks and would be China's primary weapon in any large-scale land conflict on the Korean Peninsula or across the Taiwan Strait. Type 96B. The Type 96B is a modernized mid-tier tank, serving as the numerical backbone of PLA armored units. It's lighter and cheaper than the 99A, making it easier to produce in large numbers and transport across China's diverse terrain. The Type 96B mounts the same 125mm gun, features improved fire control over earlier variants, and has better protection than its predecessors. It's the tank most PLA armored brigades actually operate on a daily basis. While it wouldn't match a modern Abrams or Leopard 2 one-on-one, quantity and combined arms doctrine are what China is betting on. Type 15 light tank. The Type 15 is a lightweight air-transportable tank developed specifically for operations in Tibet, Xinjiang, and mountainous border regions where heavier tanks can't operate effectively. It weighs around 35 tons, mounts a 105mm gun with modern fire control, and can be airlifted by the Y-20 transport aircraft. In the 2020 Galwan Valley border clash with India, China deployed Type 15s to Ladakh, demonstrating exactly the kind of rapid high-altitude response this tank was designed for. For operations along China's Himalayan frontier, the Type 15 is a genuine capability the region's militaries must account for. Armored Fighting Vehicles, ZBD-04A, Infantry Fighting Vehicle. The ZBD-04A is China's primary infantry fighting vehicle, modeled loosely on the Russian BMP-3, but domestically developed and improved. It mounts a 100mm gun alongside a 30mm autocannon, giving it anti-armor capability beyond what most IFVs carry. The amphibious hull makes it useful for river crossings and coastal operations. PLA Combined Arms Brigades use the ZBD-04A as their mounted infantry backbone, pairing it with Type 99A tanks in offensive operations. ZBD-05 Amphibious IFV. Designed specifically for amphibious assault, the ZBD-05 can launch from amphibious ships at sea and swim to shore under its own power at speeds up to 25 knots, faster than most amphibious vehicles anywhere in the world. It mounts a 30mm autocannon and carries Marines for ship-to-shore assault operations. In any scenario involving a Taiwan amphibious landing, the ZBD-05 would be among the first vehicles hitting the beach. ZBL-09 Wheeled IFV. The ZBL-09 is an 8-wheeled armored vehicle comparable to the American Stryker. It's fast on roads, relatively easy to transport by aircraft, and carries infantry in a protected environment. Armed with a 30mm cannon, the ZBL-09 equips PLA rapid reaction units that need mobility over heavy armor. China has produced this in large numbers for both domestic use and export. PTL-02 Wheeled Tank Destroyer. This wheeled fire support vehicle mounts a 100mm gun on a ZBL-09 chassis, giving PLA light units anti-armor punch without the logistics burden of tracked tanks. Fast on roads, with a top speed over 100 km an hour, the PTL-02 can race to threatened sectors and engage armor before heavier forces arrive. It's a pragmatic solution for a military that needs to cover enormous distances. Armored Personnel Carriers and Transport. ZBD-03 Airborne IFV. Purpose-built for China's airborne forces, the ZBD-03 can be airdropped with troops and is light enough for the IL-76 and Y-20 transport fleet to carry. It mounts a 25mm cannon and anti-tank guided missiles. For the PLA Airborne Corps, this vehicle gives paratroopers armored support immediately after landing, without waiting for heavier equipment to arrive by other means. The Type 92 is a 6-wheeled armored personnel carrier that has been the workhorse of PLA mechanized infantry for decades. Simple, relatively cheap, and amphibious, it transports troops in adequate protection without the sophistication or cost of an IFV. Older units still operate these widely across PLA ground forces, VM-1 Export APC, while officially an export vehicle. The VN1 family has influenced domestic PLA procurement and represents China's growing ability to produce competitive armored platforms. It demonstrates the maturity of China's defense industry. A country that once bought foreign designs is now selling its own globally. Self-propelled artillery. PLZ-05, 155mm self-propelled howitzer. The PLZ-05 is China's primary self-propelled artillery system and one of the most capable in the region. It fires 155mm rounds out to 40 kilometers with base bleed ammunition. And with precision-guided munitions, it approaches the accuracy of Western equivalents. The PLZ-05 is fully armored for crew protection and features an automatic loading system, enabling a sustained rate of fire of 6 to 8 rounds per minute. PLA artillery brigades use this as their heavy fire support backbone. PCL-181, wheeled 155mm howitzer. The PCL-181 is a truck-mounted 155mm howitzer that can be set up and ready to fire in under 3 minutes, then relocate before counter-battery radar can track it back. This shoot-and-scoop capability is critical in modern warfare, where staying in one place after firing is a death sentence. The PCL-181 equips PLA rapid reaction units that need artillery support without the logistical burden of tracked systems. PLZ-07, 122mm self-propelled howitzer. The PLZ-07 fills the lighter fire support role, delivering 122mm rounds to ranges of 18 kilometers. It equips combined arms brigades that need organic artillery without the weight and logistics demands of the larger 155mm systems, and cheaper to operate than the PLZ-05. SH-5 155mm wheeled howitzer. A lighter export-oriented wheeled howitzer with good strategic mobility, the SH-5 can be transported by air and provides precision fire support for rapid deployment units. It represents China's growing capability in producing competitive artillery for both domestic use and the global arms market. Multiple launch rocket systems. PHL-03, 300mm MLRS. China's long-range multiple rocket launcher fires 300mm rockets out to 150 kilometers, providing core-level deep fires against fixed targets, logistics hubs, and troop concentrations. It's broadly comparable to the Russian Smerch system, and gives the PLA the ability to strike targets deep in enemy rear areas. In a Taiwan scenario, PHL-3 batteries positioned on the mainland can range the entire island. PHL-11, 122mm MLRS. The PHL-11 is a wheeled 122mm rocket artillery system, providing divisional and brigade fire support. Fast to deploy and easy to resupply, it saturates areas with rockets to support ground assaults. China has produced these in enormous numbers, giving the PLA massive organic rocket artillery capability. PCL-191 Modular MLRS. The PCL-191 is China's newest and most sophisticated rocket artillery system. It fires both 370mm rockets and a 750mm tactical ballistic missile variant from the same launcher, creating a system that bridges the gap between artillery and missiles. The rocket variant reaches 70 kilometers, while the ballistic missile extends to over 200 kilometers with precision guidance. This flexibility makes the PCL-191 one of the most dangerous artillery systems in Chinese service. A single brigade can engage targets at distances that once required dedicated missile units. Ballistic and cruise missiles. DF-21D anti-ship ballistic missile. The DF-21D is what military analysts call a carrier killer, a medium-range ballistic missile specifically designed to hit moving aircraft carriers at sea, with a range of around 1,500 kilometers and a maneuverable re-entry vehicle. The DF-21D forces U.S. carrier strike groups to operate further from Chinese shores than they historically have, fundamentally altering the power projection calculus in the Pacific. No other country has a deployed anti-ship ballistic missile of this type. DF-26 Intermediate Range Ballistic Missile. With a range of 4,000 kilometers, the DF-26 can reach the U.S. base at Guam, earning it the nickname Guam Killer. It can carry both conventional and nuclear warheads, and like the DF-21D, has an anti-ship variant for targeting large surface vessels. The DF-26 gives China the ability to hold American forward bases at risk throughout the Western Pacific without nuclear escalation. DF-41 ICBM. The DF-41 is China's most advanced land-based intercontinental ballistic missile, with a range exceeding 12,000 kilometers, meaning it can hit anywhere in the continental United States. It carries multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, up to 10 warheads per missile, and is road mobile, making it difficult to locate and destroy in a first strike. The DF-41 forms the backbone of China's nuclear deterrent and is considered one of the most capable ICBMs in the world. DF-5B ICBM, an older silo-based ICBM that has been upgraded with MIRV capability. The DF-5B remains in service as part of China's nuclear triad. Though fixed silos are more vulnerable than mobile launchers, they provide a hardened second strike capability and add complexity to any adversary's targeting problem. DF-17 Hypersonic Glide Vehicle. The DF-17 delivers a hypersonic glide vehicle that maneuvers at Mach 5 or above through the upper atmosphere, making it extraordinarily difficult to intercept with existing missile defense systems. It has a range of around 2,000 kilometers and is designed to defeat the terminal phase interceptors that currently protect US and Allied forces. Hypersonic weapons represent a genuine capability gap. Western nations have no currently deployed equivalent defense against them. DF-100 Land Attack Cruise Missile. A supersonic land attack cruise missile capable of flying at Mach 3 or above. The DF-100 can strike fixed targets at ranges over 2,000 kilometers. Its speed makes it harder to intercept than subsonic cruise missiles, and it can be deployed from ground launchers, aircraft, and potentially ships. It targets high-value fixed infrastructure, air bases, ports, command centers, in the opening strikes of a conflict. YJ-12 Anti-Ship Cruise Missile. A supersonic anti-ship cruise missile carried by H-6 bombers and maritime patrol aircraft. The YJ-12 flies at Mach 2 and performs evasive maneuvers in its terminal phase to defeat ship defenses. Its 400-kilometer range lets the launching aircraft stay well outside the defensive envelope of carrier strike groups. This is the missile that keeps surface ship commanders awake at night. YJ-18 Anti-Ship Cruise Missile. The YJ-18 is a subsonic cruise missile that transitions to a supersonic sprint in its terminal phase, combining long range with a final dash that's extremely hard to intercept. It's launched from submarines, surface ships, and coastal batteries. The combination of terminal sprint speed and sea-skimming approach makes it one of the most dangerous anti-ship weapons in the Chinese inventory. CJ-10 Land Attack Cruise Missile. Comparable in role to the American Tomahawk, the CJ-10 provides China with a precision, long-range conventional strike capability against fixed targets. It can be launched from ground vehicles, aircraft, and ships, and has a range of around 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers. China has deployed these extensively, giving every major surface combatant and bomber an ability to strike deep into enemy territory. Air Defense Systems, HQ-9B. Long-Range SAM. The HQ-9B is China's primary long-range surface-to-air missile system, comparable to the Russian S-300. It can engage aircraft out to 200 kilometers and ballistic missiles at shorter ranges, providing area air defense for high-value targets. China has deployed HQ-9 systems on artificial islands in the South China Sea, effectively extending their air defense bubble far into disputed waters and raising the cost of any Western military operation in the region. HQ-22 Medium-Range SAM. The HQ-22 provides medium-range air defense at brigade and divisional level, bridging the gap between the long-range HQ-9 and shorter-range systems. It targets aircraft, cruise missiles, and some tactical ballistic missiles, providing layered protection to PLA ground formations and fixed installations. HQ-16 Medium-Range SAM. A mobile, medium-range system comparable to the Russian Buk. The HQ-16 equips combined arms brigades and naval ships in a vertically launched naval variant. It provides the organic air defense that maneuver units need when operating beyond the cover of long-range systems. HQ-7 Short-Range SAM. A short-range point defense system derived from the French Courtail. The HQ-7 protects convoys, forward operating bases, and critical assets from low-altitude aircraft and helicopters. China has produced these in large numbers to provide close air defense across their extensive ground forces. LD-2000 Close-in Weapon System. A ground-based version of China's naval close-in weapon system. The LD-2000 mounts a 7-barrel 30mm Gatling gun that fires 4,500 rounds per minute against incoming missiles, rockets, and aircraft at close range. It's a last-resort point defense system that provides a final layer of protection when longer-range systems have been penetrated or saturated. HQ-17 Short-Range SAM, based on the Russian Tor M1 design. The HQ-17 is a self-propelled short-range air defense system that provides air defense for armored formations on the move. It can engage low-flying aircraft, helicopters, and cruise missiles with high-speed reaction times, giving armored units protection from the air threats that are most dangerous to tanks. S-400. China purchased several S-400 Triumph battalions from Russia, deploying them around Shanghai and Beijing. The S-400 can engage targets at 400 kilometers and simultaneously track hundreds of objects, including fifth-generation stealth aircraft. China operates these alongside domestic HQ-9 systems, creating a layered air defense environment that any adversary attacking Chinese territory would have to fight through. Fighter aircraft. J-20 Chengdu Mighty Dragon. The J-20 is China's premier fifth-generation stealth fighter, and one of only 3 operational stealth fighters in the world, alongside the F-22 and F-35. It features a large airframe designed for carrying substantial fuel and weapons, giving it exceptional range, critical in the vast Pacific theater. Its forward-swept canards give it high maneuverability, and its internal weapons bays preserve low observability. The J-20 is China's answer to the F-35, and represents a genuine capability to challenge U.S. air superiority in ways no Chinese fighter could before. Armed with PL-15 beyond visual range missiles with 200 km plus range, the J-20 can engage AWACS and tanker aircraft that Western air operations depend on. J-16 Strike Fighter. The J-16 is a twin-engine heavy multi-role fighter derived from the Russian Su-27/30 family, but substantially improved with Chinese avionics, radar, and weapons. It carries an enormous weapons load, including the PL-15 long-range air-to-air missile, YJ-12 anti-ship missiles, and precision ground attack weapons. China is producing J-16s in significant numbers, and they form the backbone of the PLA Air Force's strike fleet. J-16D Electronic Warfare Aircraft. A dedicated electronic warfare variant of the J-16, the J-16D is China's answer to the EA-18G Growler. It carries jamming pods and anti-radiation missiles to suppress enemy air defense systems and degrade adversary radar networks. The development of a dedicated electronic warfare fighter represents a major maturation in Chinese air warfare doctrine. J-10C. The J-10C is a single-engine multi-role fighter updated with an AESA radar, thrust vectoring engine, and compatibility with the PL-15 missile. It's the primary lightweight complement to the heavier J-16 and J-20, providing large numbers of capable fighters without the cost of twin-engine platforms. The J-10C is agile, modern, and far more capable than the J-10 variants that preceded it. J-11B/BS, a Chinese-developed evolution of the Russian Su-27 airframe. The J-11B features domestically developed avionics, radar, and weapons. It equips a large portion of PLA Air Force fighter regiments, providing air superiority capability in numbers. While outclassed by the J-20, the J-11B remains a competent fourth-generation fighter. J-15 Carrier Fighter. The J-15 is China's carrier-based fighter, derived from a Ukrainian Su-33 prototype, and modified with Chinese systems. It operates from China's aircraft carriers, giving the PLAN carrier aviation capability. The J-15 has limitations from operating off ski-jump carriers, reduced weapons and fuel loads compared to catapult-launched aircraft, but China is developing catapult-equipped carriers that will allow heavier launch configurations. FC-31, J-35 Stealth Carrier Fighter. China's second stealth fighter is designed primarily for carrier operations and export. The J-35 is being developed to operate from China's Type 003 carrier, with electromagnetic catapults, giving Chinese carrier air wings a stealth strike capability. Its twin engines provide power redundancy valued for naval operations, and it represents the next generation of Chinese carrier aviation. Bombers and Maritime Patrol H-6K Strategic Bomber. The H-6K is a modernized Chinese variant of the Soviet Tu-16 bomber, upgraded with new engines, glass cockpit, and the ability to carry 6 cruise missiles externally. While subsonic and not stealthy, the H-6K gives the PLA Air Force a long-range strike platform capable of reaching Guam with cruise missiles, extending China's conventional strike reach deep into the Pacific. China operates well over 100 of these aircraft. H-6N Tanker/Strike Variant. The H-6N adds an aerial refueling probe and can carry the DF-21 derivative air-launched ballistic missile under its fuselage, giving China a bomber that can both extend its own range and potentially deliver anti-ship ballistic missiles from the air. This combination of tanking and hypersonic weapon carriage makes the H-6N a critical evolution of the bomber fleet. H-20 Stealth Bomber. China is developing a flying-wing stealth bomber broadly comparable to the B-21 Raider. The H-20 will be nuclear-capable, intercontinental range, and stealthy, completing China's nuclear triad with a genuine airborne leg that can penetrate defended airspace. When it enters service, it will fundamentally change the strategic balance, giving China the ability to hold any point on Earth at nuclear risk from the air with reduced detectability. KJ-500 Airborne Early Warning. The KJ-500 is China's primary airborne early warning and control aircraft, featuring a fixed phased array radar system integrated into a rotodome. It provides 360-degree radar coverage, battle management, and fighter direction for PLA Air Force operations. China is fielding these in meaningful numbers, giving the PLAAF the kind of networked battle management capability that proved decisive in every major air campaign of the past 3 decades. KJ-2000 AWACS. Based on the IL-76 airframe with a Russian-derived radar, the KJ-2000 was China's first large AWACS. Fewer in number than the KJ-500, it provides strategic-level air surveillance and control. Both systems together give China a layered airborne surveillance and control network. Y-8, Y-9 Maritime Patrol Aircraft. China operates multiple variants of the Y-8 and Y-9 turboprop for maritime patrol, anti-submarine warfare, signals intelligence, and electronic reconnaissance. These aircraft have Chinese sonobuoys, magnetic anomaly detectors, and surveillance systems for monitoring maritime activity across the South and East China Seas. Unmanned aerial vehicles, WZ-7 Soaring Dragon, high-altitude reconnaissance UAV. China's high-altitude, long-endurance reconnaissance drone is comparable to the American RQ-4 Global Hawk. The WZ-7 flies at extreme altitude for prolonged periods, collecting imagery and signals intelligence over vast areas. It provides strategic reconnaissance of naval movements, military installations, and infrastructure without risking a manned crew. WZ-8 Supersonic Reconnaissance Drone. The WZ-8 is a rocket-powered supersonic drone air-launched from an H-6 bomber. It accelerates to hypersonic speeds after release, conducts reconnaissance over defended airspace at extreme speed and altitude, then recovers. Essentially unkillable by current air defenses, the WZ-8 can photograph enemy carrier positions, airfield dispositions, and missile batteries in near real time. It represents a reconnaissance capability with no clear Western equivalent in current service. GJ-2 Wingloon-2 Combat UAV. The Wingloon-2 is China's armed medium-altitude long-endurance drone, broadly comparable to the American MQ-9 Reaper. It carries laser-guided bombs and anti-tank missiles, can loiter for over 30 hours, and has sold widely on the export market. The PLA operates these for strike, reconnaissance, and persistent surveillance over disputed areas. CH-5 Rainbow Combat UAV. Another armed drone in China's growing unmanned fleet. The CH-5 Rainbow carries up to 1,000 kilograms of weapons, and has demonstrated sophisticated strike capabilities, including multi-target engagement. China has turned armed drone production into a major export industry, demonstrating its manufacturing scale. GJ-11 Stealth Combat UAV. China's Flying Wing Stealth Combat Drone is designed for penetrating defended airspace. It represents China's investment in autonomous strike systems that can enter areas too dangerous for manned aircraft. Development is ongoing, but the GJ-11 demonstrates China's intent to field stealthy unmanned strike platforms alongside manned fighters. Blowfish A3 Autonomous Helicopter Drone. A small autonomous helicopter drone designed for mountainous and urban terrain reconnaissance. The Blowfish A3 demonstrates China's investment in small autonomous systems for tactical reconnaissance and potentially lethal operations in constrained environments. Submarines. Type 094A Jin-class SSBN, China's primary nuclear-armed ballistic missile submarine. The Jin class carries 12 JL-2 submarine-launched ballistic missiles with a range of 7,000 kilometers. These submarines provide the sea leg of China's nuclear triad, and when deployed on patrol, ensure a survivable second strike capability that guarantees mutually assured destruction against any attacker. China is operating at least 6 of these submarines and developing the improved Type 096. Type 096 Tang-class SSBN, the successor to the Jin class. The Type 096 will carry the longer-range JL-3 missile and feature improved stealth characteristics. When operational, the JL-3's 9,000-kilometer-plus range will allow Chinese submarines to patrol in home waters near China's coasts, while still targeting the continental United States, making them far more survivable than current boats that must venture further to sea. Type 093B Shang-class SSN. China's most capable attack submarine, the Type 093B is a nuclear-powered boat designed for anti-ship and anti-submarine warfare. Armed with YJ-18 anti-ship cruise missiles, torpedoes, and potentially land attack cruise missiles, the 093B can threaten surface groups and conduct strikes against shore targets. China is using the 093 series to build experience operating nuclear submarines in sustained blue water operations. Type 039C Yuan-class AIP submarine. The Yuan-class is China's most numerous submarine, a conventional diesel-electric boat equipped with air-independent propulsion that allows it to remain submerged for weeks without snorkeling. It's quiet, capable, and armed with torpedoes and anti-ship cruise missiles. China is producing these at a remarkable rate, and has built over 20, making them the largest AIP submarine fleet in the world. In the shallow waters of the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea, quiet conventional submarines can be more dangerous than nuclear boats. Type 032 King-class test submarine. The world's largest conventionally powered submarine, the Type 032, is primarily used for testing submarine-launched missiles and torpedoes. It provides a test platform for weapons including submarine-launched ballistic missiles, advancing China's sea-based deterrent development. Surface combatants. Type 055 Renhai-class destroyer. The Type 055 is China's largest and most capable surface combatant. A 12,000-ton cruiser in all but name. It carries 112 vertical launch cells, capable of housing anti-ship missiles, land attack cruise missiles, air defense missiles, and anti-submarine rockets. Its phased array radar and command systems make it a genuine fleet air defense and strike platform that rivals American Ticonderoga-class cruisers. China has commissioned 8 of these and is building more. The Type 055 is not just impressive for China. It would be considered a top-tier warship in any navy in the world. Type 052D Luoyang 3 destroyer. The Type 052D is China's primary multi-mission destroyer, the backbone of planned surface warfare. Armed with 64 vertical launch cells, the HHQ-9 long-range air defense missile, YJ-18 anti-ship cruise missiles, and a 130mm gun, it's a well-rounded, modern destroyer. China has built over 25 of these and continues production, giving the player a numerically formidable surface fleet. Type 054A Jiangkai 2 frigate. The Type 054A is China's most numerous modern frigate, armed with HHQ-16 medium-range air defense missiles, YJ-83 anti-ship missiles, torpedoes, and a 76mm gun. Over 30 are in service, providing the plan with a large fleet of capable general-purpose combatants for patrol, convoy escort, and task force operations across the Indo-Pacific. Type 056A Jiangdao corvette, a small but modern corvette designed for littoral patrol and anti-submarine warfare. The Type 056A equips China's coastal defense fleet and is the most numerically produced Chinese surface warship. Over 70 are in service. While not blue water combatants, they provide surveillance, presence, and defense in China's near seas, in numbers that overwhelm any adversary attempting to contest those waters. Type 022 Houbai fast attack craft. China operates over 80 of these twin-hull missile boats, armed with 8 YJ-83 anti-ship cruise missiles each. They're fast, hard to detect by radar, and cheap. Individually, they're not formidable, but a swarm of 20 Type 022s launching 160 anti-ship missiles simultaneously would overwhelm the defenses of any warship. They're a classic asymmetric weapon. The PLA uses mass and saturation to defeat superior individual platforms. Aircraft carriers. Liaoning. Type 001. China's first aircraft carrier, converted from an unfinished Soviet Kuznetsov-class hull purchased from Ukraine. The Liaoning operates as both a combat vessel and a training platform for developing Chinese carrier aviation doctrine. It carries J-15 fighters and helicopters, and while not as capable as American supercarriers, it gives China invaluable operational experience and political military signaling power. Shandong, Type 002. China's first domestically built carrier. The Shandong is slightly larger than the Liaoning, with an improved flight deck. It operates the same J-15 complement, but with better aircraft handling facilities and a larger air wing. The Shandong represents China mastering the basic industrial challenge of building an aircraft carrier, something only a handful of nations have ever accomplished. The Fujian is a quantum leap. China's third carrier features an electromagnetic catapult launch system, only the second country after the United States to deploy this technology, and an arresting wire recovery system. This allows heavier aircraft with full fuel and weapons loads, enabling the J-35 stealth fighter and KJ-600 carrier-based AWACS to operate from it. At 80,000 tons displacement, the Fujian approaches the size of a U.S. supercarrier, and represents China's arrival as a genuine blue water carrier power. Amphibious assault ships. Type 075. Yushen LHD. China's Type 075 landing helicopter dock is comparable to the U.S. Wasp class, carrying helicopters, landing craft, and a well deck for amphibious vehicles. It can embark over 1,000 Marines and their equipment. 3 are in service. In any Taiwan contingency, the Type 075s would be critical for landing large numbers of troops and heavy equipment on hostile shores. Type 071, Yuzhou LPD. The Type 071 is an amphibious transport dock that carries landing craft, armored vehicles, and Marines for expeditionary operations. 8 are in service and more are building. Together with the Type 075s, they give China a substantial amphibious lift capability that could put tens of thousands of troops ashore in a single wave. Type 076 Assault Carrier China. is building the Type 076, which will combine the flight deck of an LHD with electromagnetic catapults capable of launching drones, helicopters, and potentially VSTOL aircraft. The Type 076 represents China's intent to build an entirely new category of warship, one that projects both amphibious power and unmanned air power simultaneously. Naval Weapons YJ-21 Hypersonic Anti-Ship Missile. The YJ-21 is an air-launched hypersonic anti-ship missile that descends at extreme speed on final approach, making interception by current naval systems nearly impossible. Launched from the J-16 and potentially the J-20, it gives China a carrier-killing weapon that can be delivered from aircraft as well as ground and sea platforms. This is the weapon that most fundamentally challenges the survivability of U.S. carrier strike groups in the Western Pacific. CM-400 AKG Air-Launched Ballistic Missile. A supersonic air-to-surface missile that descends at Mach 4+ on terminal approach. The CM-400 AKG can be carried by JF-17 and other fighter aircraft to strike high-value fixed targets. Its speed makes interception by current point defense systems nearly impossible. U-6 Heavy Torpedo. China's most capable heavyweight torpedo. The U-6 is a wire-guided and acoustic homing weapon comparable to the American Mark 48. Carried by attack submarines, it can engage surface ships and submarines at ranges up to 45 kilometers. Advanced propulsion makes it faster than earlier Chinese torpedoes and harder to outrun. C-802 Anti-Ship Missile. A subsonic sea-skimming anti-ship missile that has proven itself in combat when used by Hezbollah against Israeli warships. The C-802 is China's most widely exported anti-ship weapon. It's carried by aircraft, ships, and coastal batteries, and its proliferation across Chinese client states means this weapon could show up in many conflicts involving Chinese aligned forces. Special Weapons and Emerging Systems. DF-ZF Hypersonic Glide Vehicle. Carried on DF-17 missiles, the DF-ZF hypersonic glide vehicle maneuvers unpredictably through the upper atmosphere at speeds above Mach 5, defeating both terminal phase interceptors and the track and predict intercept solutions used by existing ballistic missile defenses. Existing U.S. missile defense systems, THAAD Patriot SM-3, are not designed to intercept maneuvering hypersonic glide vehicles, creating a genuine capability gap that will take years to close. WS-3 600mm MLRS. The WS-3 is among the largest multiple rocket launch systems in existence, firing 600mm rockets to ranges exceeding 200 kilometers with GPS and inertial navigation guidance. A single launch vehicle fires 4 rockets that cover a massive area with submunitions or unitary warheads. Primarily a theater-level weapon for destroying large fixed installations and troop concentrations at ranges traditionally reserved for ballistic missiles. PHL-03 WS-2D Cluster Munition Rocket. An extended-range cluster munition rocket that disperses hundreds of submunitions across a target area. The WS-2D is designed to neutralize airfields, logistics facilities, and troop concentrations. Its reach forces adversaries to keep assets dispersed, itself a constraint on operational tempo. Type 04 Anti-Tank Guided Missile. China's most advanced man-portable anti-tank missile with top attack capability, comparable to the Javelin. It gives PLA infantry the ability to destroy modern tanks with fire-and-forget precision from concealed positions. China has produced these in large numbers and integrated them throughout infantry formations. QW-18 Manpad. A shoulder-launched surface-to-air missile for engaging low-flying aircraft and helicopters at ranges up to 6 kilometers. The QW-18 is China's most advanced manpad and has been widely exported. It gives every PLA infantry squad some ability to threaten helicopters and slow aircraft, complicating low-altitude air operations. HJ-12 Anti-Tank Missile. A top-attack fire-and-forget anti-tank missile carried by infantry, the HJ-12 can destroy any armored vehicle in service. It represents China's development of Manpad-class precision anti-armor weapons that can be dispersed widely to ground forces to create anti-armor barriers. Army Aviation Z-10 Attack Helicopter. The Z-10 is China's primary attack helicopter, featuring a tandem cockpit, stub wings for anti-tank missiles and rocket pods, and a chin-mounted 23mm cannon. It's comparable to the AH-64 Apache in concept, though somewhat less capable in current form. China has made ongoing improvements to the fire control and weapons systems, and is operating these in meaningful numbers across PLA aviation brigades. Z-19 Light Attack Helicopter. A lighter, armed reconnaissance helicopter designed to complement the Z-10. The Z-19 handles scouting, target acquisition, and lighter attack missions. Its smaller size makes it cheaper to operate and easier to deploy from smaller forward bases. Armed with anti-tank missiles, rockets, and a chin gun, it provides attack helicopter coverage for units that don't require the heavier Z-10, Z-20 medium utility helicopter, China's domestically developed equivalent of the Black Hawk. The Z-20 fills the utility transport, troop lift, and special operations insertion role that China previously depended on Russian or older indigenous designs to cover. With a fly-by-wire flight control system and modern avionics, the Z-20 gives PLA aviation units a reliable, modern medium helicopter that can operate in high-altitude environments, including Tibet. Z-8G Heavy Transport Helicopter. A development of the French Super Frelon design, the Z-8G is China's heavy-lift helicopter for transporting troops, artillery, and vehicles. It's capable at high-altitude operations, making it particularly useful on the Tibetan Plateau, where thin air limits helicopter performance severely. Z-9 Utility Helicopter. Based on the French Dauphin airframe, the Z-9 has been produced in enormous numbers in China and serves across the military in multiple variants: utility transport, naval, armed reconnaissance, and VIP transport. Though the design is dated, its familiarity and logistics commonality have kept it in widespread service. Cyber and electronic warfare. JY-27A radar, VHF anti-stealth. China has invested heavily in VHF and UHF band radars, specifically designed to detect stealth aircraft. The JY-27A operates in a frequency band where the angular shaping that makes aircraft like the F-35 stealthy is far less effective. While these radars can't provide targeting quality data, they can cue other sensors and complicate the assumptions that underpin Western stealth operations. China views defeating stealth as a strategic priority and has dedicated significant resources to this problem. DWL-00 Passive Detection System. A passive radar system that detects aircraft without emitting any signal itself, meaning the aircraft can't detect it by radar warning receivers. It uses signals emitted by the aircraft itself, radio, radar, heat, to build a tracking picture. Passive detection systems are notoriously difficult to defeat and represent a complementary approach to conventional radar for finding stealth aircraft. Strategic Rocket Forces DF-15B Short-Range Ballistic Missile. A precision short-range ballistic missile with a circular error probable, reportedly under 10 meters, using GPS and optical terminal guidance. The DF-15B is deployed in large numbers opposite Taiwan, providing the capability to strike specific individual hardened targets like runways, command bunkers, and radar sites. In the opening minutes of any Taiwan conflict, DF-15 salvos would attempt to blind, deafen, and decapitate Taiwanese defenses. DF-16 Medium-Range Ballistic Missile. With a range of 800 to 1,000 kilometers and GPS inertial guidance, the DF-16 can reach all of Japan and the US base at Okinawa from inland Chinese launch positions. It's a theater weapon for striking fixed military infrastructure, airfields, ports, logistics depots throughout the first and second island chains. DF-31AG Mobile ICBM, a road mobile ICBM that uses an all-terrain launcher, making it survivable against first strikes because it can hide throughout China's vast road network. Range exceeds 11,000 kilometers, and it carries a nuclear warhead as part of China's mobile nuclear deterrent. The DF-31AG was specifically developed to ensure that any adversary considering a disarming nuclear first strike against China cannot realistically destroy enough missiles to prevent a devastating response. Service Rifles and Infantry Weapons. QBZ-191 Service Rifle. China's newest service rifle, the QBZ-191, is chambered in 5.8mm, China's domestic caliber, rather than NATO's standard, and features a conventional layout, replacing the older bullpup QBZ-95. It has full-length and compact variants with a modular rail system for optics, lights, and accessories. The 5.8mm cartridge offers better armor penetration at range than 5.56mm NATO, a deliberate design choice for potential conflicts where body armor proliferation is expected. QBZ-95B Bullpup Carbine. The compact bullpup carbine variant of China's preceding standard rifle remains widely in service during the transition to the QBZ-191. The bullpup design keeps overall length short while maintaining a full-length barrel, well-suited to vehicle crews, paratroopers, and urban operations where compact weapons are advantageous. QJY-88 General Purpose Machine Gun. China's 5.8mm belt-fed light machine gun provides squad automatic fire, compatible with the same ammunition as the standard rifle. It simplifies logistics for infantry units. It provides sustained suppressive fire, at the squad level that pins enemy infantry and forces them to seek cover. QJG-02 Heavy Machine Gun, a 14.5mm heavy machine gun that provides the PLA with an anti-materiel and anti-light armor weapon heavier than a standard 12.7mm. Mounted on vehicles or deployed in static positions, the QJG-02 can engage light vehicles, helicopters at low altitude, and fortified positions at ranges up to 2,000 meters. PF-98 Anti-Tank Rocket Launcher, a 120mm recoilless anti-tank weapon carried by infantry. The PF-98 can defeat tanks with reactive armor at ranges up to 800 meters. It provides every infantry squad with a direct-fire anti-armor capability heavier than an anti-tank missile. Useful for close combat against armored vehicles where the engagement time is too short for a guided missile. QLZ-87 Automatic Grenade Launcher, a 35mm automatic grenade launcher providing infantry units with rapid-fire indirect fire against troops in the open and light vehicles. It can fire up to 45 rounds per minute with airburst capability. Mounted on tripods or vehicles, it's a highly effective weapon for suppressing enemy infantry in defilated positions. CS/LM4 Precision Marksman Rifle, a semi-automatic precision rifle for designated marksmen within infantry squads, providing accurate fire to 800 meters with a 10-round magazine. It bridges the gap between standard infantry rifles and dedicated sniper systems, giving platoon commanders a precision engagement capability without detaching dedicated sniper teams. Space and strategic capabilities. Shijian-21 Satellite. China has demonstrated the ability to use robotic satellites to grab and move other satellites in orbit, a direct counterspace capability. The Shijian-21 conducted a grappling maneuver with a defunct Chinese satellite, proving that the same technology could disable or destroy an adversary's reconnaissance, communications, or GPS satellites in a conflict. Space has become a new domain of competition, and China has made clear it intends to contest adversary advantages there. Beidou Navigation System, China's domestically developed GPS alternative, provides positioning accuracy for all its military systems, eliminating dependence on American GPS. Chinese precision-guided weapons, drones, and military units all operate on Beidou, meaning that in a conflict where the US attempted to degrade or deny GPS signals, Chinese precision weapons would be completely unaffected, while GPS-dependent adversary systems could be disrupted. ASAT missiles. China demonstrated direct ascent anti-satellite capability in 2007 by destroying one of its own weather satellites, creating thousands of pieces of debris. The tested technology, a ground-launched missile that rises to orbital altitude and destroys satellites, gives China the ability to blind adversary reconnaissance, communications, and navigation satellite constellations that modern militaries depend on absolutely. Western precision warfare, communications networks, and reconnaissance architectures are space-dependent. Targeting those satellites is China's most asymmetric strategic option against technologically superior adversaries. Coast Guard and Maritime Militia, Type 818 Coast Guard cutter. China operates the world's largest Coast Guard fleet, including massive 12,000-ton cutters that are larger than most navies' destroyers. Armed with water cannons and capable of carrying helicopters, these vessels are used to enforce Chinese territorial claims in the South China Sea through presence, intimidation, and ramming against smaller Philippine, Vietnamese, and Indonesian Coast Guard vessels. The Coast Guard operates as a gray zone tool, asserting sovereignty without triggering a military response. Maritime Militia Fishing Fleet. China maintains a maritime militia of hundreds of fishing vessels that swarm disputed features, anchorages, and fishing zones in the South China Sea. These vessels are manned by organized paramilitary personnel, communicate on encrypted networks, and coordinate with the Plan and Coast Guard. They are the sharp end of China's salami-slicing territorial strategy. Civilian-looking vessels that create facts on the water without providing legal justification for a military response. This is arguably one of the most effective asymmetric tools in China's entire arsenal. Conclusion: China has built a military that is no longer simply a regional power. Carrier groups, hypersonic missiles, the world's largest navy, a rapidly expanding nuclear arsenal, stealth fighters, satellite-killing weapons, and the world's most extensive drone program have collectively transformed the PLA into a force that can genuinely contest US military dominance in the Western Pacific. The gaps that existed 20 years ago have narrowed dramatically. Some have closed entirely. The world's most consequential military competition is no longer a question of if. It's a question of when. The full weight of China's rebuilt arsenal will shape the outcome of the century's defining crises.